Um, I think probably bits of my mindset might have. I think my mindset in general is probably the same. But I think mindset, I tend to think of mindsets as being lots of different bits of things that make you who you are. And I think I'm still probably, probably to be honest, just as guilty of doing all the things that kind of annoy me that are part of my mindset, my stubbornness, my, um, that's one of the things that annoys me the most. People keep saying, "Oh, you always have to be right," and I'm like, that's something I need to kind of try and change. But I think I'm kind of, as you get, I don't know, as I get older, I guess I've changed a lot of things about myself, but I'm changing less about myself, and I don't know. I probably have just changed in the last 2 years, but I don't know if my mindset has changed overall that much. Um, I think, I mean, they probably, maybe. I mean, it depends what your thoughts on change. I suppose your thoughts about everything changes. I think it's been a really strange couple of years and a very difficult couple of years, kind of in terms of just in general, the world politically, socially. Obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And I think that does change your thoughts and the way you are with things. And I think the way you handle things. But I think I'm, I'd say now at this age, I'm a very settled person compared to where I was in my 20s, where I was going through a lot of all the kind of general stuff that people, I guess, go through of, not liking yourself too much and not being comfortable with yourself. And I feel like I'm so much more happy and comfortable with myself now that I think my thoughts, my mindset, everything, it doesn't change too much now because I feel like most of the time I'm just who I am. And everyone has up days and down days and does stupid things and things that are probably not, don't represent where they are in terms of their thoughts and their mindsets. And I think sometimes people as well can lie to themselves for the right reasons or the wrong reasons. But I think I'm pretty solidly same, really. Like I say, I think it's a really very interesting time. I think in terms of like, I don't want to go too much into the politics of it, but I think the politics of it has to come into it. I mean, the sort of the rise of Trump, Brexit. I mean, I have a friend who voted for Brexit, and I've noticed he's like becoming more. He's just becoming more sort of right wing. He follows the Tories on Facebook. I wouldn't necessarily say he's very. I think the right wing, left wing thing is always an interesting thing because people always seem to fall between the two, and it's just a way of categorizing people. But I think that kind of like the way people's mindsets are being controlled more by the political situation now, I think, than things before, because I think people are being forced to make decisions, and those decisions affect who you are politically, socially, where you fit into society, and that does change your mindset. I think people's mindsets are affected by their environment, I would have said, um, and that's probably why another reason my mindset hasn't changed too much. In that my environment, I mean, I'm in a better place really in terms of my environment now, but I've been in a comfortable environment now, um, and not sort of not struggling financially, not in any kind of like having a good solid group of friends for quite a few years, and I think that really helps. And I think at the moment, people going through this pandemic, particularly following all that kind of political strife, following the way that everything's so divided, even you can see it even in the pandemic. I mean, the Black Lives Matter movement and all this stuff that's going on is highlighting the divisions that we have. And I think when you have so many divisions, so many tiers, so many structures, it changes people's mindsets, and people maybe find out things about themselves, but people also can be easily swayed. And I think those, I mean, I think with mindsets, to be honest, they can be quite defined, but it's the same as the political thing. You can go on different extremes of what that mindset that you have causes you. And I think, yeah, I think a lot of people are just probably struggling right now with what's going on. And yeah, it'll be interesting when we come out of this, because I've noticed like even a few of my friends, you can see the effect of like the lack of social time on people, and it's not easy. It's not easy for people to not be able to see people. People become more isolated. I think there's just a lot going on. It's hard to answer that question because it's such a big question in terms of everyone's changing, but the world is just changing, and there's like just huge pressures on everything. Climate change just hangs there, and like don't even talk about that at the moment because we've just come through Brexit, and then we've still got Trump there, and then we've still got all this stuff, and it's like there's pressure on everyone all the time at the moment to be doing things, and then there's this huge looming pressures of the world that we live in, and I think that is changing people's mindsets, and that people are probably becoming more prone to anxiety, panic, fear, all aspects that are part of normal mindsets, but becoming more exaggerated because of the situation that we're in. Yeah, I think that's my answer. I'm probably, and I think I said this last time you interviewed me, I'm a bit of a health nut, probably compared to a lot of people. I do a lot of exercise. I tend to try and think that I eat well. I look after myself, apart from drinking maybe too much coffee. Don't really have many vices. I vastly prefer feeling fit, feeling healthy, feeling strong to feeling lazy, feeling out of shape. Um, I am. It means a lot to me, and I'm very happy with where I am in that sense. I feel confident within myself when I'm fit. I feel confident with myself when I'm stronger, and I feel um, confident that I'm going to remain healthy, and confident that I'm going to, yeah. I think it's interesting because there's also like there's a whole other side to it of like my dad has got the last few years has been diagnosed with vascular dementia, and it's interesting watching that other side of it, which is the far bigger side than just me being able to fanny around in the garden to do some press ups or whatever. But it's it puts it more into perspective, I suppose, about um, how important health is to maintain and to look after people and to um, don't know how to word it. Just health is a responsibility to yourself, I think, to remain healthy, so that you're like you're looking after yourself, and so you can look after other people. But it's also it's people will become unhealthy. People will have problems. People and um, yeah, I suppose it's just about supporting those people and being there. And it's become a bigger part of my life to be aware of what is going on with issues like dementia and so on, and mental health as well, because of issues that my friends have had with mental health. And like I say, my dad having issues with dementia is like, yeah, it's hard to watch members of your own family, I guess, be ill. And I think sometimes you can feel a bit powerless about that. But yeah, I think from a purely selfish point of view, I'm happy with where I am in terms of health and well-being, and it does matter to me personally to maintain that, I guess. I'm just a maniac. I just move as much as I humanly can. I have a gym in my garden. At the moment, I'm very into strongman and weightlifting. A few years ago, I was more into dangling off stuff and climbing trees. I still juggle all the time. At the moment, I think I'm going to change things up and probably do some boxing. I am fortunate in that, I mean, I don't know if it's a plus or a minus, but I tend to just be interested in loads of different things. I have just too many hobbies to even count. So I tend to just pick up things, find what's interesting about them, and then I just enjoy exploring them. And um, I'm just a really physically active person, and I have been for years. I mean, I used to play football about 4 times a week. I've always just since about the age of 22, 23. I mean, when I was 23, I had about 5 or 6 different hours boxing. I was doing capoeira. I was playing football 4 times a week. Um, yeah, I mean, like all that and partying and doing all sorts of stuff. But I was just always been addicted to moving and physical exercise and the feeling of it. And I've enjoyed all sorts of different things, and like not just like stereotypical man activities like I'm describing as well. I've done contemporary dance. I've really explored movement. I've done circus and handstands, and it's just like I find it all fascinating, and I really enjoy it. And I think there's so many different levels to the human body and so much you can explore about it and so much potential within us. And like, I'm not saying I'm not particularly good at any of the things I do, to be honest, but at the same time, being able to explore how far you can go with them is really interesting to me. So that's kind of keeps me healthy, I guess. I'll go back to, I mean, I think at the moment, strength and resilience is really important because of where we are, and mentally to be resilient and to be strong. And I think to me, because it's a cliche, I suppose, but because like I explore being physically strong, I'm also aware that a lot of that stuff is like, I don't want to be soft mentally either. I want to be tough enough to cope with things. And like, I think there's a bit of that sort of macho thing in there of like, I mean, I literally think I can count the times that I've cried as an adult, probably on one hand, possibly two. Um, it's very infrequent that I will become, and that comes from being a kid and being a teenager and like being a kid who cried for too long and then started getting feeling embarrassed when other kids weren't crying at things. So then I just stopped crying. But that's also like, I think that like I want to be tough mentally. I want to be. There's so many challenges ahead of us and so many people that we need to be able to protect and look after. And I want to be physically strong and mentally strong enough to kind of help with those challenges that come along. And that also just relates, I suppose, to being resilient and just being able to roll with the punches. And like I say, we all have moments and things where we're not those things at all, and moments where we really need other people to help us to be strong and to get through things and to be resilient. And I think, like I said earlier, I have a really amazing friendship group of people who um, are there for me, who I can talk to, get advice from, and that makes me strong as well. And I hope that that strength can help them. Um, yeah. Iron brew mostly. No, I kind of I don't know. I think mentally, I think I've always wanted to be. I think a lot of it comes from a lot of my strength comes from the fact that um, when I was younger, going through school, I found school was really awkward. I was small. I was picked on. I wasn't picked on massively, to be honest, because I was always was someone who could just joke their way through things. But I I think those experiences, but then also like I had a really close group of friends when I was younger, who I grew up with. And when I turned sort of 18, when I was changing and I was becoming a different sort of person, we booked to go on this holiday together, all as a big group of friends. And then I got scared, and I was not just even scared. I really didn't want to go on this lad's holiday that I booked on for. The way they were talking about it, I just wasn't this person who wanted to be doing this, and it wasn't what I was into. And I cancelled it, and that was the last I ever saw of this group of friends who I'd literally spent every weekend with throughout my whole childhood. Like one of them was a kid that was born 3 weeks before me, and our parents knew each other in maternity. And we hung out as babies. He was my best friend. He was the reason I went to the school I went to, even though there was a better school that I should have gone to more locally. But I went to that school because I wanted to be with him. Um, and I think when you go through things like that, you kind of like, and other experiences I had at school as well, to be honest, like you kind of, you become tougher, more able to handle things, and also you just realize like that you have to be strong and you have to be able to move on and you have to be able to deal with things in life. And I think everyone has those moments when you get that. Um, and I think now I can draw so much strength from the fact that I have found myself, because that was a big part of losing those friends was me finding who I was really. That actually just because I'd hung out with those kids all the way through school doesn't mean that I was them or had anything, or I was developing different interests and moving on to become who I am now. And that took a while to really come through, but I think when you find yourself, that's where you can really draw strength from. And when you found yourself, you'll find the right friends and right people to be around you, and then you can, like I say, you can. I think friends and family are the biggest thing you can draw your own personal strength from, but you have to be there yourself. You have to be comfortable who you are and ready to be strong. Like, yeah, there's always points throughout your life, I suppose, but I think just thinking about a recent thing, just going back to my dad again, that that I find. is something that it's difficult. He can't even have a conversation anymore, and it makes me so sad. And like, um, that was one time I actually did cry. It was over Christmas. I went. My dad decided he needed to get my mum a present, and I went to this. My mum decided she wanted a teddy bear, and I went to the shop with my dad and my mum. And my mum picked out my present, and then she said, "Right, I'm going to leave you here to pick it with him." And he just sort of wandered around, so lost and aimless, and just buying this teddy bear. And he went up to the store, but he doesn't even have any money. He doesn't have cash. He doesn't have credit cards anymore. He doesn't have anything. He can't even pay for the thing. And he was standing there holding it. And it was so unlike my dad as well, because my dad is not, it's not that my dad's not a compassionate and loving person. He is, but he's also, he's stubborn and awkward like me. And he'd never buy my mum a teddy bear, really. He'd never go into a shop and buy one. And like, it was so, watching him standing there, just holding that teddy bear, looking so powerless and just like a shell where my dad used to be, basically. Um, I found that really difficult. I called up a friend and I just cried. I didn't even really want them to say anything. I just wanted to cry to someone on the phone. like, um, and yeah, that's the time when I needed to be strong and resilient. And throughout this whole thing, that's the case. But then my mum's going through it even more than me, and I need to be there to make sure that, you know, it's hard, it's tough for her, and she needs to be supported. But yeah, I'm sure there's lots of times. I think I've had a fairly cushy life, really, in terms of a lot of things, and compared to a lot of people. But I definitely think there's times that everyone needs to be strong and resilient. But yeah, that was for me. Yes, I do think they're connected. I suppose. I think I think your mindset is a huge part of strength and resilience, and a huge part of health and well-being. I mean, I was just commenting to someone like, so during this, people have sort of during the lockdown and things going on, and people being at home. Um, I found it interesting when people are sort of saying that they don't have anything to do, and I'm just like, I have so many hobbies. I don't have enough time to do my hobbies. I don't have enough time to fill. And people can't do things like people can't do things for themselves. They literally like, oh yeah, I can't do that though without. And it's like you can play a computer game and you can get bored, but you can't be like, okay, let's learn an instrument, let's learn a language, let's learn to juggle. You know, what I mean, like there's so much stuff you can do, but that is a part of your mindset, and it's all. I think your mindset relates to loads of things as well, though. That is your strength and resilience. If you can find a mindset that puts you in a position where you have to challenge yourself and you have to push yourself and you have to have a mindset to be resilient, to be strong, to be comfortable with, like a lot of, like, okay, I could go back to this, but being comfortable and happy with yourself is a huge part of being healthy mentally, physically, and that all affects your mindset. And when you get that right, and yeah, like I'm not perfect, I can be an absolute arse sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, but at least I'm trying and I'm recognizing, and I think that's really important. And I think that's the relation to it all. I think comes from the mindset and comes from how that just how a healthy mindset is your health. It's not all about physical health. It's not all about twatting around in a garden and, you know, running around. It's like it's your it's all about controlling that mind and that mindset, and that brings you strength and resilience. And I think that's what connects them all. I think in my community of I think I'm a part of a few communities, and I don't think I'm very good at contributing to, like, I mean, I so for instance, I have neighbours who are lovely, and they are people I consider a part of a community, a small community. But then I don't know most of the people who live around me. To be quite honest, I don't feel like I'm part of the community of Wigston, particularly, or anything here. And I don't feel that there is a community. I don't know who the people who live three doors down are. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know what they're like or what they want or what they need. I don't know anything about them. There's an old lady living opposite, and I've waved at her once and lived here for 6 months. um, I don't know anything about her. She seems nice, but I don't, you know, like I am not a part of this community except for in the sense of I chat to my neighbours regularly and check that they're okay. But then at the same time, I run a juggling club, and it's a juggling club that's it's partly run by us, Enter Eden, and it's partly run by Bright Sparks, who are a mental health charity, and there's people coming down who have various problems and mental health problems, but there's also this whole group of other people who are just jugglers and now really good friends of mine. And I mean, I run that. I'm a massive part of that. I organise when we meet, what we do, everything. And as a part of that community, I can like, because it's a physically active community of people, I can see the benefits that that has on your health, your mental well-being, and I can see also like the support that that gives you to have that strength. I mean, I don't necessarily think that we people necessarily bring massive problems to that group in terms of like having to support people through, and obviously some groups and communities have to support people through tragic events and huge things and that, but at least in that community, we're all together and we're all pursuing the same things, and it's really satisfying. And like I say, I do think that that supports strength and resilience and mental well-being. And then there's the community that I'm in with my group of friends, which is the same. I think. I mean, I think we're really supportive in that group of people, and in helping people. I just try and be a positive person where I can. Sometimes my mindset probably means that I'm more negative than I'd like to be, but I try and be a positive person, try and keep people happy, and try and just be an active and useful part of any community I'm a part of. But I don't think that, in the grand sense of things, outside of those little bubbles, I don't think I'm a part of a big community. I don't think the world is a part of a big community. I mean, maybe I could join some group like Extinction Rebellion or something, and be part of a bigger group, but um, yeah, I don't feel like I'm part of a local community of anything really, in terms of my neighbours and my, around here. Yeah, I think that on the subject of all this stuff, I think it is. I think it would be nice to feel that I was part. Like I'd like to feel more part of the community around here. I mean, a lot of the people around here are older. I live in a bungalow. A lot of the people are older. It would be nice to know when people need support and help. But then I think as well, when you start trying to take on too much responsibility to be a community by yourself and to bring a community, that can just be a huge amount of pressure. I mean, even running a little juggling club is it's not even a problem. It's once a Monday, but occasionally I'm busy and I feel suddenly like, oh God, I'm letting everyone down. I'm not being there, and like, and not organizing things well enough and putting time into something that, like essentially I do as a hobby. So I think it's hard to, and I think these questions need to be asked, and we do need to find ways to support each other as communities. And maybe through movements like Black Lives Matter and Extinction Rebellion, those things will come along more. But then those movements also polarize people between the left and the right and the politics of it all again. And I think that's one of the hard things about trying to be part of a community of people that are not your friends, because people's opinions become very divided, and we live in a very divided time, I'd say.